Welcome to the Strokecast. A Generation X stroke survivor explores rehab, recovery, the frontiers of neuroscience, and how to peel a banana with one hand.
Hello, I'm Bill Monroe, and welcome to episode 4 of the Strokecast. This week, I'm going to be talking about the recent ocean cruise I just came back from. But first, a little housekeeping. We've been actually successful in getting the Strokecast on more platforms. You can now listen and subscribe on Spotify, and very soon you'll be able to listen and subscribe on Google Play Music. You can also find the latest episodes with closed captioning support on YouTube. Just search for Strokecast. If you like what you've been hearing on Strokecast, go ahead and give us a rating or a review in the Apple Podcast Store. You can find the links to that in the show notes for this episode at strokecast.com or in the podcatcher you're listening on. Do you use Facebook a lot? Because there are a ton of stroke support Facebook groups out there as well. A whole bunch of them. You can actually go ahead and find a short list of them at strokecast.com/Facebook. Check out the groups that are there, and if you know of a different one that you like, go ahead and let me know and I will add it to the list. Did you also know that there is a free magazine put out by the National Stroke Association? You can subscribe online and get an actual dead tree publication brought to your home or your post office box by a uniformed representative of the U.S. government. Check out strokecast.com/magazine for more details. So now this week, let's talk about cruising. On one of the Facebook groups I belong to, a stroke survivor asked about going on a cruise and whether it was a good idea. By coincidence, I just got back from one, and that's what I'll be talking about today. I'm going to talk about the cruise in general first, then I'll talk about some of the accessibility challenges and advantages, and finally my experience with the swimming pool. Most of the discussion is going to include thoughts I recorded while I was on the boat. So, first of all, this wasn't just any cruise. It was JoCo Cruise 8. In other words, what that means is that basically it was Nerd Summer Camp from February 18th through February 25th off the coast of Baja, California on Holland America's MS Oosterdam. It was actually a charter for fans of Jonathan Coulton and other geeky musicians, authors, podcasters, actors, and more. If you're not familiar with Jonathan Coulton, he actually really has been a musician for a very long time, but for the longest time, he was also a software developer. Eventually, he got tired of that life and started recording more geek and nerd-oriented music about software developers and zombies and mad scientists. He did a project in the mid-aughts where he recorded and released a new song every week and called it Thing a Week. And that led to some fantastic songs like Skull Crusher Mountain, Code Monkey, among others, and some just really weird ones like Mr. Fancy Pants, which also is awesome in its own right. But other musicians have included folks like Paul and Storm, Gene Gray, MC Frontalot, authors N.K. Jemisin and Pat Rothfuss, actors and podcasters like Jackie Cation and Will Wheaton, and more. In terms of attendees, there were probably about 1,500 folks who attended this awesome event. It's actually an annual event, and this was the 6th time that I've traveled on it. However, it is the first time that I've done it as a person with physical disabilities. It's all custom programming, so it's none of the cruise ship's regular shows or programming or classes or things like that. It's performances from special guests. It's karaoke from the attendees who love karaoke. And it's interesting because the karaoke from JoCo Cruise attendees differs from regular karaoke you'll find at many karaoke bars because it includes a lot more show tunes and Disney songs and torch songs and just classics. So it is a really eclectic mix. There's also a ton of workshops. There's a 1-ton gaming library where literally the JoCo Cruise team brought on a ton of board games. Literally 2,000 pounds of board games that people can check out and play in the main dining room throughout the day or really anywhere on the ship for 24-hour board gaming. And a lot of folks just absolutely go nuts over that. Of course, in addition to the official scheduled programming, the nerds who attended, and we actually call ourselves sea monkeys, like the sea monkey ad you used to find in old comic books, actually create our own programming. And these are called Shadow Cruise events, special meetups and sessions that we just go ahead and organize and get added to the official calendar sometimes and sometimes don't. I hosted 3 of them myself. Ultimately, though, it's not about the agenda. It's more about the community of the sea monkeys that participate. I'm not going to say it's a utopian perfect world of perfect people, because it's not. Anytime you get 1,500 humans in one place, there's going to be some stuff that goes on. But ultimately, it is a much safer space than what you'll find in the real world. Next year's cruise is going to travel the Caribbean in March. And if you'd like more information or think you might be interested in joining us next year, go ahead and check out strokecast.com/JoCo. So, what's it like cruising as a person with disabilities? Well, in a word, it was awesome. And here are some thoughts I recorded on the last night of the cruise.
Well, I had a great experience with the folks who were able to help me out or not help me out. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, I did have an accessible cabin, which meant the shower was a roll-in shower, which was nice and convenient. And it was an interior cabin, which, while that is generally the smallest and least expensive cabin type the boat offers, it also had extra space because it was an accessible cabin. So that was great. There are a number of other people in the group with physical challenges, ranging from vision issues to mobility challenges, to hearing challenges, to an assortment of other conditions. As you would expect, just by nature of society and by nature of a group of 1,500 or so people. The main obstacle that I became aware of didn't affect me, but if someone is limited to getting around in a power chair, getting off the boat at some ports can be problematic. There are a couple of ports we go to where the boat does not actually pull up to a dock. It docks offshore, and then everybody gets into smaller boats to go ashore. Those smaller boats are called tenders, and if you are in a power chair, you probably cannot get the power chair onto the little tender boat. So your option then becomes walking as much as you can to that process, and then figuring out a wheelchair solution, or taking a manual wheelchair down and bringing that onto the tender after walking onto the little tender. If you have questions about that, I'd encourage you to contact whatever cruise line you're sailing with to look into those options. But that did appear to be a significant limitation. That said, everything else on the boat did appear to largely be wheelchair accessible, although hallways are narrow and elevators can be small. It seems like chairs should be able to get in there, just perhaps not as maneuverable as would be ideal. So I'm recording this from a deck chair on the 3rd deck outside promenade on the Oosterdam on Holland America lines. I've been on the JoCo Cruise 2018 for a week now. Looking out past the railings, I see what's either the coast of Mexico, of Baja California, or if we really made great time, it could potentially be the coast of California, but I don't think we're back in U.S. territorial waters yet. This is the first year that I have done the cruise post-stroke. I'm now just about 9 months past the stroke, still with left side hemiparesis, so I have limited use of the leg, no practical use of the hand, and I can raise my arm enough just to get myself in trouble. For the most part, my cruise experience really hasn't been significantly different pre-stroke and post-stroke. I can still get anywhere I want to get to on the ship. It just takes me longer, and I block people behind me, which is fine. Everybody has been really sympathetic to that. The staff here at Holland America on this ship have been fantastic. They have done a great job of offering assistance when they think I might need it, and of not automatically providing assistance without asking first. From practical standpoint, the main limitation has been in the buffet, where since I walk with a cane, I generally walk with a cane, and I have my left arm in a give more sling. I don't really have a free hand, so the buffet can be more challenging. I can go ahead and hang my cane off of my belt once I have a plate of food and then head back to the table, but that also means I am going to walk very slow and a bit wobbly, which worries folks, especially when the boat is being particularly boaty on a slightly rougher ocean. So when I go to the buffet, I've actually been forced to make some more nutritious choices. I've been choosing things that actually go into a bowl, because that's just a lot easier to carry without spilling than a plate. So that's meant going to the salad bar, where the staff makes a salad for you and then hands you a giant bowl of salad, or going to the Asian fresh cooking section, where there's usually noodles or rice that you can get, and then get your assortment of various meats and vegetables and sauces added to that. They fry that up and they hand it to you in a bowl. Or going to the pasta station, where they make your custom pasta dish and hand it to you in a bowl. And they do a lot of this on the boat, just prepping stuff even at the buffet and then handing you your dish, or in my case, your bowl, rather than having everything be self-serve. And that's not necessarily a disability thing. That's more of a cleanliness process that they have to minimize the risk of things like norovirus, which keeps showing up in the press and making people ill. But by doing this, it means that fewer people are touching other people's dishes, which is awesome. It's one of those examples of things that make things more accessible without necessarily being something that's designed to benefit only the handicapped, which is great. The best disability features out there don't seem like disability features. What I really wanted to talk about today is my experience with the swimming pool and the hot tub. I actually got in the pool a couple of days ago for the first time since my stroke, and really for the first time in several years. As a side note, while this stroke has limited some of my physical activities and athletic capabilities, the limitation on my athletic capabilities really isn't that significant, since I really didn't have any athletic capabilities pre-stroke. So it's not like I was going out and playing soccer before and can't now. I really couldn't do it even when I was healthy-ish. But getting in the pool was interesting. The pool is variable depth. It ranges from about 5.5 feet to almost 7 feet deep. And the most challenging part of getting in the pool was actually walking from my lounge chair, from my deck chair. And I know you're already thinking, oh, trouble getting from your deck chair, true first world problem. And yes, you're right. But with my hemiparesis, the challenge was actually walking from the deck chair to the swimming pool without using my cane, because I'm not going to take that in the pool, without wearing my arm sling, because I'm not going to take that in the pool, without wearing my eyeglasses, because I'm not going to take those into the pool, and of course, without wearing my AFO, because I'm not going to wear my ankle brace into the pool. So it really is sort of like when I walk from the shower to the bedroom to get dressed at home, except it is a longer walk. There's no bookcases for me to use to furniture surf, and there's just wider space available. So that was a bit of a slow walk, but I managed it without scaring anybody, and climbed into the first ledge of the pool by, sort of sitting on the edge of it, swinging one leg and then the other over it into the wading edge, because there's about a 2-foot zone inside the pool on the inside of each walls, which is really for wading, and the water's only an inch or so deep. So you can just sort of get your feet wet and get used to it, I suppose. But then it was standing up on that ledge and walking to the shallower end, the 5.5-foot end. And from there, I sort of sat down on the ledge and got ready to take my first plunge. It was slightly heated, so the water wasn't too hot, but most importantly, it wasn't shockingly cold. Now, pre-stroke, I was used to sort of sliding into the pool feet first. So you sort of put your feet, extend your legs straight, and sort of slide your butt off the edge of the pool and into the water until you hit the ground. And you don't hit it hard because you've got the extra water buoyancy. What I didn't realize is that in doing that, I'm actually using the muscles of my legs to keep my legs straight and to keep my legs pointed towards the bottom of the pool. It's one of those things I've just never thought about in my years of, on occasion, climbing into a swimming pool. That posed the actual challenge of what happened when I got into the pool, and that's that I pointed my legs down, let gravity do that, and started to slide off. Of course, my right leg, my strong leg, had no problem going to the bottom of the pool. But as I got into the water, it turns out water, wouldn't you know it, provides buoyancy. And the buoyancy of the water managed to grab my weak left leg and flip it straight up. So I ended up going into the water with my left leg at about a 90-degree angle in the water, which was not necessarily a problem, but it did manage to tweak my hip a little bit, and it was an unexpected surprise. So that was good to learn and good to see that, and I didn't actually get hurt or anything. It was just sort of a bit of a surprise. But once I was in the pool, then that became a really nice experience. I tried swimming a little bit, but I wasn't really able to manage to get a good swim stroke going because I couldn't really get a good kicking motion going and couldn't really get a good left arm swing going. And combine that with my own just nervousness about this new experience and trying to figure out how my new body is going to work in this environment really made that turn into a bit of a less practical solution. So I didn't try that too much. I was able to float a little bit on my back. Again, need to improve my core strength in order to do that more effectively. But once I was in the water and had water just over my shoulders, it was actually kind of fun because then I was able to do some leg motions that I've really only been able to do laying down in therapy and things like that, like swinging my left leg into a full circular marching motion and actually bend my hip up 90 degrees and get that thigh extended straight out at a 90-degree angle from the rest of my body while I kept my foot down and able to make sort of a cycling motion there, which was nice. I was able to actually walk and put more weight onto the left side and focus on doing that in that side of the pool. I was also able to do something that I haven't been able to do in 9 months, and that's jump. I was actually able to hop in the water on my both legs, and then even just doing it on my left leg. I was actually able to jump on one foot in the water because of the extra buoyancy. And that's something I can't even imagine doing right now on dry land or on the dryish deck of the boat. So that was a good experience, and it was a good process to try that as I'm forcing my leg to make those motions, even if it wasn't actually providing that much force because the water helped so much, but actually forcing my leg to actually make those motions that it hasn't really done in coming up on a year now. So it was nice to be able to do that and to get some more practice with doing that. So if you get a chance to go ahead and try doing a round of exercise and a round of therapy in the water, I definitely highly recommend it, and try jumping in the pool. I was also able to do a bunch of my shoulder exercises because there was no gravity resisting my arm. So while I was still able to do a lot of those stretches I would normally do in therapy, it did take the gravity element out, which gave me some more flexibility. So that was really nice to play with. I spent probably about 45 minutes in the pool, and then I climbed out of the pool and over into the hot tub. Now, the hot tub was a little bit more challenging to get in because it's a much smaller space, The water is, of course, hot, which was nice to be able to sit down into that, but climbing down into the hot tub was a lot more challenging because I can't really rely on the steps, and sliding into it is a little bit more difficult. I managed to do it and get those bubbles going, and that was good too, because again, it gave me an opportunity to not only stretch out that leg more and play with some different positions, but it also gave me the opportunity to then help use the warm water, which is relaxing, to reduce the tone in my leg and in my arm, so I could actually cross my legs easily in the hot tub and then start. I'm sure this made some of the other people around uncomfortable, but whatever. I was able to actually spend some time just sort of rubbing my left foot to promote the circulation and minimize any swelling and any of that stuff, and just sort of stretch out some of those muscles and tendons in a way I haven't been able to do in a while. So overall, that was a great experience. And I went through probably 3 or 4 cycles of hitting the bubble maker on the hot tub, which was awesome, and it was just pleasant. It was towards the end of my time in the hot tub, that I looked over at the warning signs where it says that if you have any history of cardiovascular issues or illness, you should or high blood pressure, you should really contact your doctor before you consider getting into the hot tub. Oops, sorry, doctor. It's one of those things where those are warnings I never really considered before my stroke, when I was more able-bodied and had what I thought to be a fully functioning circulatory system. But I suppose I need to pay more attention to those things now and look into those things in greater detail now. Actually, I'm probably glad I didn't read the warning in advance, because then I probably still would have gotten in the hot tub, but then I would have felt guilty about it. So no harm came from it, so I am just happy to have had that experience. What I'm not so happy to have that experience of course, is the resulting sunburn, because I have a very pale complexion. My skin is practically translucent. Phlebotomists love taking blood samples from me because I have awesome veins and they have no trouble finding them. But that also means that the sun will cook me very quickly. I had managed to already rack up a pretty good sunburn the day before, over the 2 days before, on my right arm, and which is already challenging, because if I have one good arm, I really don't want to have it knocked out by sunburn. And so I sat in the hot tub for probably 45 minutes or so, 30 minutes, I don't know. It was awesome. Under partially cloudy skies, but apparently not partially cloudy enough, because I managed to give myself yet another sunburn across my shoulders and my neck, and I actually ended up with a nice bright bright line across my chest, right where the water level was. And on one side is pure white skin, the other side is pure red skin, and so yes, that was unpleasant. The main challenge with that is that it also meant that over the next couple of days, I couldn't actually wear my Give More sling to support my arm and to minimize shoulder sublux because the sling would irritate the sunburn. The sunburn also made it more difficult to sleep at night because, well, laying back down on that whole area just hurt. Managed to get through it, managed to get some decent sleep, and very careful of positioning those things. Interestingly enough, the few days before, when I got my more significant sunburn on my right arm, that again is a direct result of the stroke, because the way to apply sunblock to the right arm is to use the left hand, which of course does not work well. So that became more of a challenge, and it's something I need to be more aware of and focus more carefully on, and go back to some of the lessons the OTs taught me about applying lotion when I was in the hospital, which I didn't really pay that much attention to because I don't wear lotion. But I do occasionally wear sunblock, or need to wear sunblock, or I just need to go ahead and just wear long sleeves. But anyway, the point of this is that getting into the pool and getting into the hot tub turned out to have a couple of challenges, but overall were not a problem and were wonderful experiences. So if you get a chance to go play in the water, I definitely recommend that you do that.
The main point of all of this is don't let stroke and physical disabilities stop you from doing awesome things. Find a way, because there are so many amazing things to do in this world. And as stroke survivors, we've been through a life-threatening and a life-changing event. In many cases, more than once. Many of us become acutely aware that time is really a precious thing. So don't waste that time. When there are cool and awesome things that you want to do, go ahead and find a way to get it done. Find a way to spend time with awesome people. Find a way to break out of your routine if that is at all possible. Physical therapists and occupational therapists and, the speech therapists and really are the entire medical team that supports us. If we tell them these are the things that we want to go do, that we want to help accomplish, they will help us put together a plan to get there. So there are teams that are out there that will support us for things like this, for other activities or hobbies or whatever it is we want to get back to. But it's important for us to go ahead and step out and say, this is an awesome thing and this is something I want to figure out how to do. And then go ahead and figure out how to make it happen. And that brings us to our hack of the week. And this week's hack is going to be really simple and obvious. Possibly something you're already doing. But sometimes those things that are simple and obvious to us are the things that we just really need to say and that other people just need to hear. And this week, it's simply carry a bag. I have a nylon crossbody tote bag. I think it's from Chico Bag that I actually carry around the house. Actually, I say it's obvious, but it was my girlfriend's idea. Because I'm in a situation where one hand doesn't work yet and the other hand holds my cane. That means carrying other stuff is a challenge. Sometimes I can rely on the tone in my left arm to sort of tuck things up there. Other times I can sort of hang things off a finger, but it's difficult. So what I do is I use that simple bag to go check the mail and carry the mail back to the apartment, or to carry coffee upstairs to my office in a thermos, which, by the way, is another awesome thing to have. Make sure you have a sealable thermos if you're going to be bringing hot beverages to different parts of your home. I use it to bring my tablet, my phone, a paper notebook to different rooms or different parts of the room. My water bottle regularly rides around in it. I like that it has a shoulder strap that is long enough so that I can wear it crossbody. Strap goes over my head and hangs on the left side of my neck, and then runs down across my chest to the bag, which sits at my right hip. Crossbody means that it doesn't slide off my arm as I hobble around the apartment. If I use just a single shoulder bag, then inevitably it's going to slide down whichever arm it's on and end up either falling off the weak hand or getting tangled up with my cane in my right hand. So keep a bag available so you can move stuff around without sacrificing your stability by skipping the cane or dropping stuff from the weak hand and just leaving a mess of debris in your wake. Simple solutions like this are often some of the most effective ones that are out there. So that's it for this week. Now I know I've talked about a bunch of links this week. You can find them all in the show notes if the app you're listening on supports that. And if not, no problem. You can find all of those links in the show notes for episode 4 at strokecast.com. So what are your thoughts on cruising, conventions, and other nerdy activities? I love them and I want to know your thoughts. Go ahead and share them in the comments for episode 4 at strokecast.com. If you're listening on the Apple platform, please go ahead and leave a rating or review for Strokecast in the Apple Podcast Store. Visit strokecast.com/Apple Podcasts to go right to there, or to go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast Store. Would you like to learn more about the JoCo Cruise? Check out strokecast.com/JoCo. You can subscribe to the National Stroke Association's magazine by visiting strokecast.com/magazine. You can also check out all sorts of Facebook stroke support groups by visiting strokecast.com/Facebook. And as always, don't get best, get better. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you next week.
The Strokecast, Bill Monroe, and Bill's guests provide general information and entertainment, not medical advice. Please do not make any changes to your treatment plan or the execution of your treatment plan without first consulting your personal doctor or medical team. The Strokecast is a proud production of the Currently Speaking Podcast Network.